Now, Nigeria's bond auction for this month recorded a significant surge in investor demand, with total subscriptions hitting 1.63 trillion naira compared to the 670.94 billion naira recorded in January. Meanwhile, traders at Axis Bank expect the market to keep calm due to the expected decline in liquidity from the bond auction settlement. Ademola Osuntoki, Treasury Team Lead at Axis Bank, joins me now for more market movements. Ademola, thanks a lot for joining us on the show today. Quite interesting numbers we have here from Monday's outing, but walk us through. Let's analyze the allotment levels that we saw, allotment rate we saw earlier on in January, and what we're seeing play out here for this month, and how this signals investors' interest at the moment.
So good morning, David. Thank you very much for having me. So I think, as you've mentioned, we continue to see Nigeria as a viable place for investment. When we look at the breakdown of the bond auction on Monday, we have two key bond issuances, which were the 2029s as well as the 2031s. I think, as you mentioned, subscription was in the trillions, and aside from that, what we saw then was oversell. So out of 350 billion that was offered across the 2029s and 2031s, we saw them sell a total of 910 billion, which shows that there's a significant demand for these instruments within the market. This was despite, the decline in rates. So, in January, we saw them at around 21.7 and 22.5. But, at the last auction, we saw them at around 19.3 and 19.2. So we can see that, these rates are still very attractive for a number of investors within the market.
And talking about the attraction of the market at this moment now, we have better clarity. We've had the rebate CPI data, and we also have the GDP numbers come out yesterday. How is this also sending signals across the market?
So I think, as you mentioned, we continue to see, increased interest within Nigerian instruments. When we look at the NTB auction that took place last week, that was largely oversubscribed as well. We continue to see increased interest, within these instruments, with subscriptions, well above, the trillions, for these instruments. So most times what we've seen is the DMO, oversell on these instruments because there's so much demand to play with. So this does show that, Nigeria, is a viable place for investment. And when we consider, the inflation figures, this shows that, that difference, in terms of positive carry has significantly reduced when we compare the 34.4% that we had at December to, 24.48%. So it is, a good return for a number of investors within the market.
Well, we'll have to leave the conversation here for now, but we expect FX trading to remain stable, the Naira a little stronger at this moment, and then liquidity to continue its regular fluctuations. But thank you so much for your time on the show today, Ademola. That was Ademola Osuntoki, Treasury Team Lead at Axis Bank.